Starting in one, two, three. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another video from Keobastein. We have K-TEIN episode 12. I'm here with once again my good host CommDao, and today we're going to be focusing on character appeals and what characters draws in for your two hosts. So, without further ado, first off, CommDao, good morning, and how are you doing?
Morning, man. I am doing pretty good.
All right, glad to hear you're doing pretty good. I just had me some breakfast, so I'm pretty doing feeling great. And work has been tiring, and well, because work been tiring,
Yeah.
this is why I became something of a geek and gamer. I need my escapism. But you know what's the
hmm
best? And you know with escapism, there are a lot of things that draw people to escapism. We have the just the fantasy, power fantasy of just being somewhere where you don't want to be and whatnot with stories, which is what makes reading so good for the imaginative mind. Then you have those who have the music side of things who just
hmm
love the don't want to say linguistic, I'm not saying linguistic. Let's just say the rhythm of making music and whatnot and everything and whatnot. But I'm kind of beating around the bush. The thing I really want to say that gets me drawn into something, like when I look at a book, when I look at a game, when I look at a show, or even when I want to buy a product, I look at characters because those are the things that are the most interesting to me. Sometimes I can see a world, but sometimes even just seeing the background of something and leaving it up to mystery or your own imagination is fine. But when I see a character, I want to know what's going on with that person. What are their name? How they may sound like, or at least how I imagine they may sound like. And for me, for my fighting game, which is always considered a character game, how do they play and whatnot. And speaking of that, um, calm down. You told me you were just playing some Street Fighter 6 again. Did you went back to your original main, or are you exploring somebody else? Because for me, when I do play my fighting games, I may sometimes go and explore different characters if I'm not feeling the game, or if I'm having some challenges and I just need to like reevaluate a few things.
Yeah. I'll just like recap whenever I was playing Street Fighter 6 in my quote unquote heyday, or like when I initially put in the most time, like the characters I explored, and I will, spoiler alert, say that it is different now. But prior to the release of Street Fighter 6, man, I thought that, dude, this is going to be the time that I'm going to learn Cammy for real. I'm going to learn how to do the instant
Can you
air
explain?
dive kicks and all that stuff,
Yeah.
you know? And when it came out, I was like, she doesn't, it doesn't feel fun, man. Like when you're talking about character appeal, especially with games in particular, because before that, yeah, like the character motivation, the look of the character and all that, but not only how the character looks, but how does the character feel to use, to move, to pilot? It's so important, right? Because with me exploring enough games and trying more characters and going through the process of trying to narrow down my main, I've had that experience of, dude, this character looks amazing, but it doesn't feel good to play. And then likewise, sometimes the character, it's like, man, just like the initial impression, like they don't look that cool, but when they're in your hands, you're like, all right, you feel the potential of the character. You find that one move that you want to hone in on and like spam like crazy, or like there's a difficult type of setup. It's like, okay, like around this move, I want to develop the game plan so I can hit this move more often, right? And that happens a ton of times in 3D fighters, especially when at least for me, you want to talk about characters that don't immediately look appealing. I feel like the virtual fighter cast, like just on the initial impressions, they look so simple, so plain, right? But when you're using them, it can be a lot of fun. So when I threw Cammy to the side, it kind of surprised me that Chun Li felt really good to pilot. I think Chun Li was my second highest ranked character, but I ended up doing the most progress with Manon, and Manon was because now with my fighting games, I have a bigger appreciation for grapplers and command grabs, and that was a lot of fun. But as I was weaning off Street Fighter 6 and like now in this era and like more seasons later, dude, one of the characters that's been speaking to me the most has been Aki. And Aki's a more technical character. I am just like barely scratching the surface on what she can do and all the set plays and stuff like that. but some of her moves just look so ridiculous and weird, and that's doing something for me. Her mushroom hair is kind of, hit or miss, but like that's not like the main draw for me. But just like snaky poison lady is a fun character archetype that I'm really, really enjoying. So she's there's Elena that I want to explore as well, but and Elena did just get her costume 4, but hockey's still got this hold on me where I'm having a lot of fun with it.
It's funny that you mentioned that because when I look at myself Street Fighter 6, the only I thought I was gonna like several characters like JP. I definitely have a thing for well, one I always have a thing for villain characters, but I think that's
Hmm.
technically true of many people. But JP had that. He had a lot of things going for me that I would like normally aesthetically, but I won't go into that yet. But I first thought, okay, I'm going to try with JP. Not feeling it. In fact, admittedly, I hate how this counter. Let me say I hate. I wasn't feeling how his counter work, and also he did seem way overwhelming to me,
Hmm.
and that yeah, he felt overwhelming to pilot and use. I didn't care for all the setups that he was having to do and whatnot. So basically, for long story short, JP, like what I was looking aesthetically, looked it way too overwhelming to want to play and pilot. So I did went back to my original, but thankfully I had an original character who I always wanted to go back to, E Honda. However, when I was having challenges with E Honda, well, one, I do like Honda. I was
Is that who you
disappointed
main
how
in 5?
Honda was not characterized more. Like, yes, I am saying that he is the sumo enthusiast, but I think you could give him more characters than just being the sumo enthusiast and whatnot. Sadly, they didn't really tap into that more, so oh well. But I still like the character Hunter because one, besides him being a function of a turtle character, I like that he is the jovial character around here who's not basically not trying to make enemies out of people. He keeps some of the lightheartedness of Street Fighter. While there is Blanca, who's also kind of jovial, but
Hmm.
he's also like the butt of jokes, which I kind of wish we kind of dialed that back a bit and whatnot. But he's also the innocent person because again he by retrospect is one of the youngest characters in Street Fighter. I would dare say, at least mentally, I would say
Mm.
and whatnot. But yeah, I like Honda being a bit jovial. There is Zangief who also is like that, but not really caring for the play style and whatnot and everything. And even then, at least Honda has another thing where he does like cooking a lot. Zangief, well, now recently we just learned that he likes going to the bookstore, which that costume they gave him with the glasses and that vest.
The vest,
No,
yeah.
oh god, that costume was so good. I'm like, yeah, I can feel that. Like if I was a Zangief main, yeah, that'd be my outfit. But I still didn't stay on Street Fighter. I tried to play with Dustle. I like Dustle. I like mentor characters personally a lot. So I did try to explore Dawson. That didn't stick, so I just dropped Street Fighter 6. Now I am keeping an eye out for Street Fighter 6 due to Ingrid, ironically enough. Um, I never hated her design personally, and I only got introduced to her due to Capcom Fighting Jam. But I never really hate her design personally. Actually, no, I like her design. And which I like her design because, which is the reason why people don't like her. She's so different from everybody else around, and that's kind of the thing I want to kind of point out when it comes to me and characters. Like as a kid growing up, like my taste and palette has changed a lot. First, I just liked anything that looked really cool, or sorry, I had like original identifiers. Okay, did it have the color red on it? Okay, I may like them. Did they look cool? All right, I like them. Were they important? I like them. Were they a villain or the main hero? I liked them. Now I kind of grown to where I can pick more, let's say, well-rounded identifiers of what I like about a character. But one thing I always did like was when a character looked very distinct from everybody else and
Mm.
whatnot. So case in point, let me see if I can pick one that comes to mind. I'm going to actually say Mega Man. Actually, let's do Mega Man.
Okay.
So the robot. Let's go with the original Robot Master. Do you know most of the original 8 Robot Masters that started off Mega Man? How there was Frostman, Fireman, Cutman, and whatnot.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be able to name drop them just as easily as you did, but like as you say them, like I have the picture in my head. So yeah.
Okay, so I would say the Robot Master who I didn't initially care for, but I would have grown to, but I always remembered them. Like that's another thing I also noticed. Even there were characters who I would say they weren't my favorite, I still remember them vividly in my head because how distinct and different they are. To now realize, oh, I very like distinct and different stuff. I would say Gusman because out of all the Robot Masters, Gusman looked the most distinct because he had a big. I mean, he was one of the tallest out of all the other Robot Masters, but then he also had that mouth that was just well, weird and different. It looked like a crane of some sort. So I always remember that of Gutsman. Like the other romances, I was sometimes just forget them or they'll even bleed into other designs. But because how Gutsman looked with that mouth, it's like, okay, I'm always going to keep remembering that mouth. Like, even when I see something with a similar, like crane like mouth, Gutsman comes to mind. To eventually, I did became okay. Now I do like Gutsman because he is the big burly type. He has the most defensive stats out of all the rest of them and whatnot. So he did why not actually become my favorite robot monster. I think my initial favorite probably would have been either Cutman or Fireman. Actually, probably would have been Fireman because Fireman probably looked the coolest because he does have a distinct look too, whatnot. But now it's actually Gutsman for more relatability and everything else. But there's even one character that's even more distinct than all the other robot masters. Are you familiar with the Yellow Devil from Mega Man series?
The Yellow Devil. No, I think I'd have to Google that one.
All right, I'll enjoy it. But the Yellow Devil, basically, while you look at the world of Mega Man, all these characters are like humanoid-looking robots with sometimes a human feature or something sometimes robotic with edges at angles. And yet, out of all of them, one of the most formidable, let's say, enemies of Mega Man is the Yellow Devil, and the Yellow Devil is distinct by not being distinct. It's just a blob with an eyeball on it.
Yeah, he looks like a golem. And pulling up these images, it's like of course, like for the Mega Man diehards, like they're immediately going to know this character. I'm surprised that I'm not familiar with this character because it seems like it's a staple since way back when, right?
It is it's a staple in the form of a very reoccurring boss and enemy, but it's not like a fan favorite. And I can see why it's not even a fan favorite because it is just a blob with an eye. Like most people remember it because how difficult of a boss it is. But I think that's the reason why I also liked it because if you look at all the robot masters, these are like, oh, who might be difficult and tough because like Gusman look big and tough. You got Shade Man who's like a uh butler looking. You got Cutman, and like all these things look scary and formidable. Then you look at Yellow Devil. One has the name Yellow Devil, so you already got high expectation, and all you see is a blob with an
Mm.
eye. So expectation is already like, is this really dangerous or threatening? Until you actually fight him, and it's like, holy crap, this is such a hard boss to fight. And then at the same time, also again, it's just a blob with an eye. While we got a bunch of robots with angles, curves, and whatnot, this is just a blob with an eye, or for all intents and purposes, a golem. And it's like I can remember that like it's so such a simple design that even someone can just draw them easily and
Hmm.
whatnot, while every other character is so distinct. Like even Mega Man, Mega Man has a simple design. He's just a blue humanoid with a helmet on and whatnot. But even you can still see some of the robotic parts of the cannon buster, the helmet. Like you still see that sci-fi futuristic. While the Yellow Devil is just a blob with one eye, with a little eye. So because of that, he remained in my memory because how simple and so how distinct he was by how simple its design was. Now, does that mean do I like simplistic designs? No, not necessarily. It's rather more so I like when something is very contrasting and different from everybody else. So like that was Mega Man side. Let me use another character to try to explain how contrasting I like things. I kind of going to cheat and go ahead and use Dragon Ball Z so we don't go in such a
Okay.
deep cut. But I'm
Oh,
going to
look,
say,
like I'm so curious to like again the pivot's fine, but I'm trying to formulate in my head like who are you gonna say after this talk about the Yellow Devil? Which Dragon Ball character could it be? I'm gonna assume like no way it's Krillin, right? Or is it?
I did like. I'm sorry. I actually, you know what? Actually, thank you for reminding. I keep again. Krillin was my favorite character growing up. Sorry, besides Vegeta initially, because Vegeta was just
Yeah.
badass. But then it was Krillin because actually Krillin was very distinct. He was short, bald, and his eyes were very different. So there was a thing where
Hmm.
I love Krillin. Also, he had like a physical slash projectile move, like whatnot.
I mean,
Most other characters
I'm half
were
clowning because I did like Krillin too. I did like Krillin.
yeah,
I'm not a
but
hater.
then again, it's not Krillin because even. But then again, there is a correlation to another character who I liked it to that. That would be Frieza. I mean, all the forms of Frieza, but
Yeah.
even like Frieza fresh in base form, he was the most distinct character. Besides the fact that he did have a little bit more detail, but also like he was short. Like most of the time you see him, he is short for the most part. But then also how he carried himself and whatnot. Oh, sorry. No. Actually, no. This is where I still am somewhat of an anime fan, or at least I appreciate anime. Because growing up, we didn't get really effeminate, effeminate to borderline pretty boy male characters, or the closer we got were like the Disney queer coded characters like Hades from Hercules, Jafar from Aladdin, or my other favorite, who this is the deep cut pick, Radigan from The Great Mouse Detective. But any other time we did have like male characters, it was either the Paragon Boy Scout or the big muscular strong brute, and then that was it. So one of the reasons why anime had a hole is we got a lot of pretty boys. Like that was just kind of standard, like and whatnot. And while I don't know if I can say Frieza was a pretty boy per se, like maybe that's a matter of interpretation, but he was definitely regal and elegant. In fact, that's the thing. We didn't get that many villains that were regal in their speak or dignified. I want to say dignified. Let's just say chose to be eloquent with their words and mannerism. Like Frieza was the most dangerous being there. Like the show made that apparent, not by just his killing, but just the fact that everybody felt his aura and presence was scare. But was Frieza being loud, barking, and the general, like was he like Cobra Commander? Like Cobra Commander was always yelling at people. Skeletor always yelling at his minions.
Hmm.
Frieza wasn't yelling at his enemies until he actually not enemy, but he wasn't yelling as subordinates until well they actually messed up. And even actually no, even then when Frieza was upset, he still most of the time kept that calm demeanor, which actually made it more scary. Where he did do something terrible and had a very, let's say, docile look or face to not docile, a more laid back appearance. Like he had a scowl, but it wasn't very. What's the word? I don't know what the word I want to use. But let's just say it wasn't what I was used to, which is why I think another character, let's say, separate from Frieza, because Frieza was distinct looking, but it's rather how he carry himself. That thing of mine. Let me go to a Western product and let's go with DC Comics. Penguin, from when the Batman anime series on. Penguin. Now, to be fair, I'll actually dare say all Batman characters are distinct, but the one that's most visually apparent distinct will be Oswald Cobblepot Penguin, rounded, trying to carry himself sophisticated and whatnot, and everything. Yeah, I loved him. I love what Oswald Cobblepot was doing, and that's why I started to realize I learned like a lot of dignifying character when it came to character design. Basically, one who carried regality. So no, visually I like regalia, such as anything that looks like royalty. Does that mean the character need to be royal like? No, because in fact, some of my favorite characters are just the servers or butlers who just had a uniform that looked at very nicely pressed and sophisticated and whatnot. But I do like characters who had like the mannerisms that were very polite and whatnot. But that's also because I usually like when they show that they can be polite, but they can be heartless and cruel the next moment. It contrasts what I may have initially thought and seen of a character and whatnot. I mean, if I may say, like Mother Gothel from what's no, Mother Gothel really looked evil to be honest in Tangled. So I'm not going with that. But
Yeah.
actually, before I go any further, calm down. You have any characters in mind that you kind of notice that you always get drawn towards yourself?
Well, before we get into that, man, and thanks for that pause there. But I'm curious, like listening to you go off in this way. One is a treat, man. Truly, like I always love to hear what clicks for other people, right? But I wanted to ask you the way that you're analyzing these characters, dude, it feels so deep that did you always like have this type of affinity at looking characters in this way even when you were a kid? Because like I feel like when I was growing,
No,
I looked at it
no, no,
really
no, no.
simply, you
Definitely, I
know.
didn't always think this way as a kid. It's rather I just noticed that I always recall Oswald Cobblepot. I just noticed that I always like, even though we grow older and we technically don't remember things when we grow older as kids, but I like, okay, I remember Guts Man. I'm not sure why I remember Guts Man. Maybe because it was my first introductory to Mega Man. But the thing is, why did I remember some of the other characters? Why didn't like remember Nightshade? Why did I remember Flame Man more distinctly? Because they were robots. In fact, I would dare say they would have been the cooler robots. But I remember Guts Man because he's so different. Like
Okay.
it's because he's so different and whatnot and everything. And when it came to like growing older, like Jafar, oh sorry, like some of the characters I mean like Jafar and whatnot. As a kid growing up, I would want to role play, the scenes of the movies I was watching from Disney, and I always want to always role play as most of the villain characters from Jafar to Radigan's and Scar. Like I had the most fun role playing them. So that led me to think, okay, I must have an affinity towards these characters. But why did I have that affinity? I didn't know. I just know I had some affinity. So as a kid, no, I did not understand why I like these characters. It's just rather I still remember these things fondly and strongly and whatnot. Now, as I got older, it's like, okay, well, things may have changed. Like, the only thing I can say that have changed is like when I do remember, let's say, how I transferred from being a Wolverine fan to now being a Cyclops fan. Wolverine's still the epitome of cool to some extent, at least
Mm-hmm.
visually and whatnot. Claws and whatnot. Like I still even like to make design characters of my own with like claws as a weapon and whatnot and everything. Wolverine is without doubt still the coolest and one of the coolest. But when I finally got to a point where I want more than just what something looks cool and whatnot, that's when I fell for Wolverine because I didn't care for his personality. I didn't care for
Mm-hmm.
his notion of getting with Jean Grey. Besides that, very
Yeah.
disturbing age gap, and then
True.
also no one. I had no camaraderie with other people to be like, okay, why you like Wolverine? Oh, he's just the coolest. Okay, he's cool. Okay, he's testosterone and whatnot. Which maybe then you could say I guess I didn't relate to Wolverine anymore because I didn't have that hyper masculine testosterone edge and whatnot. I was a lot more in tune with characters who are emotional, which I didn't realize, but that was the case with Cyclops. But then I didn't like the fact that Cyclops was a paragon. It's rather he was struggling with trying to be a Boy Scout. And even Miss, I don't think I want to be a Boy Scout. Like, or better yet, one of the reasons I like mentor characters because I liked it that my teachers taught me. Like, these were, besides my family, who I do love and adore, um, who are the other people who are your, if anything, as you said, early North Stars in our life? Like, who are people who will teach us? So I developed an admiration for teachers and mentors because, like, these people really don't gain too much for teaching others. Like, because teachers don't get paid enough, and sometimes
Mm-hmm.
mentors don't really get anything besides a headache of getting a disciple or something. But usually they want to do it for some altruistic reason or whatnot. So I have such a admiration, appreciation for like mentor like people, or mentor people. So let's just say, sorry, I just like people who are willing to help other people for altruistic reasons. And because of that, I will always try to look for mentors when I was growing up, from looking to my uncles,
Yeah,
aunties, and
absolutely.
whatnot, and even colleagues at work. And I noticed that, oh, that's what Cyclops was looking for. He was looking for a mentor himself. And he found it with Charles Xavier until he realized he can't trust Charles Xavier like he thought he could. Because that was actually how even I had some of my bad experience. I trusted wrong mentors or leadership, and it caused a personal great pain. So I guess, long story short, I can relate to Cyclops, but I also admire Cyclops for still trying to do the right thing, not right thing, still trying to build himself up, but while also not being fully complicit on just being somebody else's tool. And then also at the same time, I also like the fact that his name is Cyclops. I didn't quite understand that Cyclops meant one eyed creature, which is another thing I started to realize. I like the one eyed creatures a lot because I let's look at Mega Man again. the Yellow Devil. That's a Cyclops and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And then technically that's the same thing with Cyclops from X-Men. But then I think the thing that really cemented why I like Cyclops, let's go ahead and go back to a Japanese product, Gundam. Now Gundams are cool as fuck, like all the different Gundams. But some reason the Zaku design, the one eye design mechs,
Mm-hmm.
that just pulls me in so much. I like how their visors like swerve around their helmet and sometimes leaves a red after image, and it's like, oh, that looks so fucking cool. And I also like how while the Gundams usually have a lot of multicolors, most of the Zaku's are single color and they still look cool. One would think, well, more color must be more cool. No, the Zaku's are generally one color and they still match to look cool as fuck. The green Zaku, the red Zaku's, the blue and whatnot. Like Xeon's robots just look fucking cool. That's all I can really say. And usually because they're technically usually a lot more simple than Gundams, which are a lot more complex and whatnot. So actually, forgive me. What were we on? My mind kind of went.
Don't worry,
I went on
I'll
a tangent.
recap, man. No, again, like this is where the passion is really, really good, and anybody who's listening, I think they learned a lot more about you as you gushed about that. So like, don't worry, I'll bring this up to speed.
Actually, I think
Right?
I remember. You were asking like, had I always thought like this way? No, I've not
Yeah.
always thought like this when I was sorry, not as a kid. As I got older, I thought about this, and that's because of my study into metacognition. Like, why do we think the way we think and whatnot? And the reason why I do that, well, one part, this may be due to my ADHD that I do have. I am diagnosed with ADHD. So, as they say, people with ADHD or usually some form of uh, mental let's say I'm sorry, there are have additional neural elements to consider. Usually, they have a different way of how they perceive things, and I usually don't stick with okay, I just like it because I just like this. I usually do fall in the sense of why do I like it. For another example, I won't try to go on too long. Pokemon.
Yes.
I am a
Perfect.
very big fan of the grass type and whatnot.
Mhm.
Why am I a fan of grass type? Because I find the most peace when it comes to dealing with nature. Basically, I like the thing of nature. Nature is peaceful. Like when I seen art, I remember in all my school and classes, the pictures I like looking into the most were the picture where you saw like a autumn forest, like the orange gold leaves hallway, or Ireland where you see those big grassy fields and whatnot. And then when I play RPG games, I think we could safely say in most RPG games, your starting area is usually in a forest, and that's where it's usually the most safest and controlled environment. I like that serenity of peace and whatnot. Now that's not always the case with Pokemon design, but because of the affinity towards nature, that's why I like the grass type Pokemon because I like that affinity in nature that comes with peace and whatnot. So I just kind of really study metacognition, which is the study of figuring out why do we think the way we think and try to rationalize it. It's not always correct and whatnot, but it's try to rationalize the way we always think and whatnot. Because I'm always
Well,
thinking, why do I feel or think certain way? Because I don't always make educated guess. Make good educated guess or assumption of things and whatnot. Like recently, I tried to play DNF Duel because I'm like, okay, I'm not like in the current game, but DNF Duel, I think I can at least appreciate the game. It's a button special game, and while it is still an anime game with long combo, it's still slow and methodical. Until I actually start playing the game a bit more, and I'm like, okay, you know what? For a slow methodical game, there's still a lot of knowledge checks that you need to remember, and the knowledge checks on top of the volatile nature, it made the game not fun to play. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is why I didn't play that. Or Carter Hearts. I haven't been playing Carter Hearts as much as because, besides not rollback, Carter Heart is a much more higher execution game. Not high execution of the fact that you're doing pretzel motions and whatnot, but it's rather your inputs still need to be clean. If I'm gonna do core circle, it needs to be a clean core circle. It doesn't have many buffering behind it. Unlike most modern games now that has a lot of buffering behind it, where if you just do the motion 25% correct, it will just assume you want a quarter circle or this is that motion and whatnot. So yeah, so I'm just always in the mindset of like analyzing, thinking of things because if I can understand it, then I can either appreciate it or make more educated guesses in the future.
Well, yeah, the appreciation thing is huge, I think, because when you understand or get even a sense of better understanding on why you enjoy the things you do, you get to enjoy it even more. So, like, I think that's more rewarding, and I think that's fine. Like, whatever we might have enjoyed when we were younger, like that never has to stop. And like when you go back and reevaluate with the lens, and you get the deeper appreciation and like you said, you have all this appreciation for villains, but that was something that you were able to recognize when you were younger. Where I think that's a difference for me. I think I looked at it a lot more simple. Where yeah, always wanted to be the good guy. You know, bad guys are bad. You hate the bad guys, or you always want the bad guys to lose. Like you don't have. I feel like the whole idea of like a sympathetic villain, that concept wasn't something that was like even on my radar until like after high school, I want to say. Not
I would
that
say,
like
yeah,
you
that's
can't be
kind of
exposed to that earlier, but it didn't happen to me till like way later. And then your question about like distinct characters, man, I feel like one thing on the flip side of that, and it was interesting when you brought up Pokemon. I feel like if a character doesn't grab you immediately with like their visuals, I feel like some sort of characterization or episodic format, like doesn't have to be huge moments, but any kind of like bonding moment, which is why like the Pokemon show was like so powerful. Because like, you know, as far as like the power list, right? There's like plenty of like quote unquote useless Pokemon in like the game series, but I cared about all of them because Ash's journey was capturing them all, you know? So like I think for a lot of our childhoods, like maybe not everybody, but like a lot of people got teary eyed when he got Caterpie into Metapod, and when he finally let Butterfree go, you know, on his own. Like those that stuff like still hits me to my core these days. And like whenever I did playthroughs in Pokemon Red and Blue, like I always made sure I got a Caterpie because of the show. Stuff like that. Even though Caterpie was like never that great, Butterfree and all that. But it's just so interesting hearing you talk about your characters, and it's like so philosophical a lot of times. Where you know, you did talk about like the shapes and colors and like having the simple design or like having like the one eye thing, dude. I feel like my superficial takes on distinct characters is just like even so much further superficial, dude. It's like, whoa, this character has a scythe. Oh, this character has an eye patch. Oh, this character has a hat. I like that, you know, like that's, you know, of course, like in other things, in other mediums, like there's deeper characterization that can hit. But like when I have like a visual hook that grabs me, it is like so inconsequential, just like something random like that. That'll do it for me, dude.
there is something. I mean, I do get to some things superficial, like as well. Like there is, like when it comes to like the gotcha games that are currently out and whatnot. Like let's say Genshin Impact.
Hmm.
So I hear that all these characters are generally perceived really well and whatnot. But a lot of time when I look at them, I'm just seeing a lot of sorry, because almost everybody's pretty and a lot of designs are roughly the same. It's like, okay, well then what's going to catch my eye in this list of characters? And the only one that really caught me was basically the one female character who looked like she was an adult. Now, this is not to say I don't like youthful looking characters. I can admit I still like characters who can have youthful appearance, but I don't remember her name. But it was she's like a
Probably
witch.
Lauma.
She's a
Uh,
witch with blonde hair. I know she's actually compared to the other more popular youthful witch girl with the dark hair. Cause I think they're both like purple witch outfits and whatnot. But yeah, there's a one Kitchen Impact character. I don't know her name because that's not how much I get it. But it's like
it might
okay,
be Alice. Like, well, so there's a handful of witches, and like there's a character that hasn't actually been released as playable, but everybody's looking forward to her. I'm assuming you're talking about Alice, but
probably not because
we'll see
no,
when it.
no, no. I'm not gonna say it's not Alec. I've just looked her up. One because she was one of the original starting characters. Like when Get Impact just started. So no, it's not Alice.
Okay.
In fact, I even say Alice still looks quite young. If I'm being honest.
So,
Um,
well, again, as far as like mature characters, that's why I was thinking you were talking about Lauma, but
Llama.
Wish,
How do you spell that? Maybe I can.
Lauma.
No, but I do see what you mean. But also,
Yeah,
No, no, no,
let's
no.
solve this
Well, actually, let me actually say the other witch character. Well, now I actually do want to find her. Let's see.
because it's not Mona. Because like Mona
Yeah,
is the
not Mona.
purple
That's
witch,
that's
but
the
she
black
looks
hair one.
young.
That's the black hair one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. No, like she looks similar to Mona, but older, and she had blonde to or brownish hair. No, I think it's more of a blonde hair. And I think we try one better because as someone who's seen nothing but blonde hairs usually didn't grab my attention. But because she was the oldest looking female character and blonde hair, I'm like, okay, I'm looking at her. But
Oh,
also,
you're talking about Lisa.
is it Lisa? Is I think that is her. It looks like that is her.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
She
think
was
it
like
is
the.
Lisa.
You're right. That makes sense because like again, I was like from the very onset of the game, I'm like, oh man, I'm pretty sure Keobastein's thinking about the one that's not released yet. But no, Lisa's been there from
Day
one
one.
point whatever to yeah.
Yeah, it is Lisa. Yeah, yeah. She's one on because she actually looks like an older character, and not that I also not against older character, but that's how she stood out when almost every other character in Genshin Impact looks very very similar because she was an
Fun
older
fun
character.
fact about that voice actress. It's the same voice actress as Sindel in Mortal Kombat, and also the voice actress of Storm in Marvel Tokon and Marvel Rivals.
Ah, okay. That's hey. Then there she has a distinct role and whatnot because Sindel definitely is a older woman and so is Storm and Marvel Tokon. So good to know on that front. So yeah, Lisa, her character design, cause like okay, but then there is still some of the things I like. One, okay, she's a mature character out of cast that is at least predominantly 60% mid to young adult characters. So that's that
Hmm.
first distinct thing. Then her color palette. She has dark colors, but then she also has well, pale skin. To be fair, that's a lot of characters in the game. But then she also has the I'm gonna say it brown to slash blonde is so predictable that is I would consider boring, and yet somehow she makes it look interesting. And I'm gonna assume it's because the extreme contrast of color. She has a, you know, roughly dark purple outfit, so it perfectly contrasts with her brown hair. So my eye gets drawn towards that and whatnot. So
It's a good character design. Keobastein, while you're pulling up characters, I bet you because it is true and it deserves to be called out, especially when Genshin tried to introduce like basically their Africa land, and they did not actually include characters of color. But
yeah,
look up a Genshin character called Candace. I bet you would dig that character design. Candace,
Candace.
yeah, Candace, I think.
Touche. You're not wrong.
Yeah, the I forget what it's called when you have two
Besides the
different eye
monochrome
colors.
eyes, also she has a
Yeah,
shield, so that's already so no, as a personal thing, she has a shield. I love my fucking shields, and sorry, I love my shields, and I do like how, so now that I'm used to anime, I realize that bob haircut is a lot more common in anime or rather Eastern works. But I like how when people can make bob hair look interesting. And I like how she has like a bobbish hair that's interesting and whatnot. So there definitely is a strong contrast. So I could definitely see myself being a fan of her. I mean, she got again. So is that a scepter or is that a lance she has as a weapon?
she fights us with a lance. Yeah.
I'm not against the lance. So yeah, I'm not against what I see for her. Yeah, I could definitely see, and she definitely look like she at least has some age behind it too, like
Hmm.
somewhat age. But yeah, she's another
Yeah.
character. I could also be like, oh well, there's this thing because also she has a darker complexion than most of the cast. So yeah, she will be okay. She will get an immediate interest. I think one character that maybe I could say also would come my attention because how initially boring she is, but it's that boringness that made her stand out from every other character, and that would be you know the Uma Musamini pretty derpy
Hmm.
gold ship, like she's honestly looks like a very generic anime character, but when I look at all the other Umasumi and how that's so very elaborate, it did make Ghost Ship stand out because she's not very elaborately drawn. Now she has a great personality. I'm gonna try. Well, her other things, she makes up for it with her other thing, but her initial design, yeah, it looks very generic almost in a sense. But because almost every other character is so heavily distinct design that her genericness becomes distinct, if that makes sense. Because she's the
I mean,
most. Go ahead.
her design reminds me a lot of like a marching band outfit, and like that
I do like
because there
that
was a
too.
K-pop group that did a marching band aesthetic like way back when. They're now defunct. Their name was problematic, even though they had like some older members. The group was called After School, but yeah, like the outfit's good. I'm thinking, Keobastein, watching the clock here. Again, like it's been so great hearing you gush about characters, and I think we need to continue to explore this in like future episodes. But for the fact that think about how many franchises we talked in this one episode alone, right? We went from Street Fighter, we brought up Mega Man, talked about
Disney villains.
Dragon Ball, yeah, and stuff like that. So I just want to make sure not to like put out the fire in your momentum, but just to make sure that we don't get too carried away. Is there anything you want to revisit on like the franchises we mentioned so far, or is there like one more that you just want to really touch on for today? I think that would be a good use of like watching and monitoring our time is all.
All right, so I will say this. Let's actually go back to what it is originally because we're playing games. Now, I did just say I'm having some difficulty with DNF Duel. Now, I did let the character Lost Word. That's what I used to play. He was like he was one of the bosses of a character. He was a boss of the game, so I always have a thing for boss characters. And I did like how he functioned and whatnot. And he was like an older, mysterious like creature kind of guy and whatnot, and everything. But I've been having trouble playing with him. So I tried re-exploring somebody else who I initially was like, how should I say this? Have you ever had the thing where you kind of maybe like something, but because it's so overly popular that you develop a natural disdain or distaste of it because everybody else
Dude,
likes it?
that is my problem with meta character picks in fighting games. You know, so like it bummed me out when B Jenny and Vanessa were like at the top of the game for so long in KOF 15 because that like plenty of people enjoy them, right? But that new it I knew that I wouldn't invest more time in those characters because they were so freaking popular in that way. And like that's something that I probably should just get over,
I
but
would say
it's
have
one
to go, yeah,
not
go
like
over there. Yeah,
yeah.
it's been hurting some of my experience with games like um just to slightly backtrack. Then Impact. Like,
Mhm.
I won't go if I say I love Uvigan as a character, but he has all the functions I want. But because he was so popularly played, I had a
Yeah.
natural disdain to like, okay, I'm not gonna play him until I eventually got to the point where like, okay, I'm not having fun with the game. I might deserve some solution of either I stop playing the game altogether or I readjust how I play the game. And at first, I tried to just drop the game, didn't work. Picked up Uva again, started having a much better time with the game. I'm like, you know what, just fine. I'm part of the crowd, whatever. But I want to. But this person is allowing me to enjoy the game. Even he is the most popular, like one of the most popular pick in the game. But it made the game enjoyable, and I was able to at least find some enjoyment. So going back to DNF Duel, apparently everybody was anticipating Spectre. That was the first DLC character, and I
Hmm.
was like, okay, well, one older female character, thank God, because how many fucking lowlies we have in DNF Duel? So older
Yeah.
female looking, at least middle age, okay, kind of at least like that. Very contrasting, pinkish white hair to black outfit, business suit, woman in business suit. You can't tell. Sorry, no matter what, a woman in business suit, good, very very appealing. But then she also had a EI sword style like thing, which I'm a very
Hmm.
big hard on for swordsman character that does Iato style,
Yeah, I
Iato
don't.
style.
Yep.
But because she's apparently one of the most popular meta characters in the original DNF Duel, everybody and their mother was like, "Oh, best character, love her, everything." I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna play with her. And also at the same time, DNF Duel show her doing combos, which is my gripe with fighting games. We're always going to be showing combos, but it's like, can we see other stuff with the other characters? But because I just saw combos with her, I'm like, okay, she's probably just a combo character. Pay her no mind. Decided to pick her up, and when this dust has settled, and because she was actually a very complex character and whatnot, people did drop her. I learned that she's one of the best whip punisher characters in the game. She has good mobility in a game that I'm struggling to deal with this lack of mobility and whatnot. And she has buttons that I wish Lost Warrior had. That I'm like, okay, I'm starting to reevaluate on wanting to play her and whatnot. And I thought I wasn't going to play her because I hate how she was just insanely popular, even though she ticked a lot of boxes that I would personally like, from function to even design and whatnot. So yeah, that's what I about that because like there are things that you may like, but then you just step away from because almost everybody like that. I think the only one that's
Hmm.
not the case like that when it comes to Frieza, because Frieza is just I love Frieza. It's like Frieza is just a diehard. It's like it's just a love character for me. Now I love Jiren, which apparently people hate, but yeah, yeah, that will be my last talking point about that. And hopefully next time we do come out to this topic, we can hear more about on characters you like from your side, and maybe we can even, I guess, maybe pick more at Keobastein's brain.
Yeah, sounds good, man. Again, really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed hearing your thought process behind everything.
Hey, and hey, viewers, if you have any characters that you like or want to share, go ahead and put down in the comments section. We would love to hear how some of you people think and feel. But without further ado, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of K-TEIN. Thanks for sticking around. CommDao. Where can people find you?
Yep, catch me on Twitch, CommDao. And if you want to check out my other Gotcha project with Fabian, you can find us. It's rebranded as Gotcha Plus Living on YouTube.
All right, glad to hear that. I'll definitely be looking forward to seeing from that. All right, without further ado, everybody, thank you and have a great day.